If you are starting a new project, but you don't know how to start or the steps that you should take first, then you are in the right place and this video is for you. What's up everyone, this is Ahmed, and today I want to talk about a very important topic that you may miss when you start your new project. Whether you are about to start a software development, IT, or any other project, I will help you understand your very first steps as you are initiating the project. So, by saying very first, I wasn't referring to the point where you think about the idea. Instead, I want to go further back to start from the problem. Yes, you heard that right, the problem. Think about it for a second. Ideas are not born out of thin air. They most likely get generated out of necessity and curiosity, right? In other words, you must explain the necessity or the curiosity and why it is important. For example, in our inventory management application project, we can easily list a necessity by saying we need to be able to track our supplies and assets. Now, I want you to reflect on that sentence a little bit more, because when we say we need to be able to track our supplies and assets, we unconsciously define a problem because we obviously cannot track our supplies and assets. Okay, so what about curiosity? As you know, we said ideas get generated out of necessity and curiosity. So the answer is, it is really the same as the necessity. Except, of course, that when we are only curious about something, we emulate the problem instead of experiencing it. Let's take another example. Going back to our upcoming inventory management application project, I can say, I'm curious if we can utilize AI to generate reports and analytics for the application. As you can see, the sentence doesn't introduce an existing problem, but we can define an emulated problem of not being able to use AI. Let's take this to the next level, shall we? By the end of this video, you will be more comfortable writing a successful project proposal or project charter documents. So for today's agenda, we will be defining 4 main stages for writing those documents, starting from defining the problem, generating ideas, selecting your solution, and gathering information to develop the final document. Stage 1, defining the problem. So, to define the problem, you need to go through 3 main steps. The first one is define the problem, the actual definition of the problem, and for our application, for our inventory management application, I can define like an example of defining our problem to say senior managers and investors are not happy because they cannot see how their money was spent on supplies and assets. And because we cannot identify how much money we spend on supplies and assets, we cannot plan our budget properly. I can also say we have some difficulties in tracking our supplies and assets in terms of who's responsible for what, or what is the physical location of each item. I can also say we cannot generate useful information such as reports, charts, or dashboards to facilitate forecasting or customer services. The second step that we need to do is defining missing features. And again, going back to our example on our project, I can say that we need to be able to have the purchase information stored for items so we can track them in terms of the cost and the date of purchase of every item. We also need to manage items, supplies and assets to know how they are being used after we receive them. We need to have a full historical tracking of every item. We need the ability to store other information such as employees, vendors, server providers, departments, etc. Last but not least, we need to be able to have reporting and analytics. The third step of defining the problem is defining the existing systems or the existing approach that we currently use in the system. For this scenario, or for the inventory management application, I would say there's none. We can add to this, like we try to save invoices and receipts, and then manually kind of try to track and save the information. But this is almost impossible to organize and track, especially after the business scaled up in the past year. Because necessity is the mother of invention, and by reflecting on our problem definition, we can start generating ideas that may help addressing the missing features. This stage is about brainstorming possible solutions and ideas to counter the lack of features that have been identified in the previous stage. Okay, let's think about a few important items to consider when you conduct brainstorming sessions. The first item is to make sure to write down all possible ideas and approaches. As you know, this project eventually we know that we will be developing a new application. However, in reality, your solution doesn't have to be a new developed application. It can be anything as long as it addresses the defined problems. Second item is to keep an open mind, because the goal is to cover all missing features as I've mentioned. So any solution that costs less and do the job efficiently and sufficiently should be selected, even if it's just an Excel sheet. The third stage is about studying the ideas and eventually picking the best solution. Before I proceed, I want to highlight two important items that you need to keep in consideration. Item 1 is make sure you list all possible solutions and study them very carefully. So this combines the previous stage and this is about taking your time to list everything. The second item is try to avoid introducing new ideas at this stage. Unless the new idea is a game breaker, it is highly recommended to stay away from it so we don't end up in an infinite loop of generating ideas. Back to stage number 3. So, to be able to select the proposed solution successfully, there are 4 main pillars that you need to understand. Number 1, your selected solution must cover all missing features. Do you remember the features that you identified in stage 1? So everything must be covered by the new solution. Item number 2, the selected solution must be easy to access and easy to use. So it is not feasible, or it doesn't make sense to provide something very complex, even if that thing provides the solution that we are looking for. Item number 3, the cost. So every project has an allocated budget. So any solution we pick, it must not exceed our budget limit. Item number 4, performance. So there are some ways to define KPIs in terms of performance, and the new selected solution must not exceed these KPIs. To be able to maintain the 4 pillars, you will have to conduct further study of each idea. The study that you may need to do is doing some data gathering, for example, interviews, surveys, questionnaires. You maybe even need to meet people face to face to speak with them. You also need to do some internet research or market research to find or try to find if there are any existing solutions can do or can cover your problem. You also need to do feasibility study, and this includes cost, time, and also the maintenance cost of that solution. By following all these steps, you should be able to successfully select the best solution or the best idea from the list of ideas that you have generated. Congratulations! At this point, creating a project proposal or project charter document is way easier. So, in this document, you need to define project title, problem statement, objectives, project scope, budget, project team, and I also highly recommend that you add key milestones, because this will show investors and decision makers that you have clear goals. So the project title is just the name of your project, so you can really select any relative name. Problem statement and objectives, it can be taken from stage 1 when you have defined your problem. For the project scope, this will be taken from stage 3 when you have selected the solution. And in this item, you need to define the outcome, schedule of the project, maybe the risk that may happen within this project, and some assumptions. The budget, of course, you need to have an allocated budget for your project, and you need to monitor this budget throughout the project. Project team, list everyone who will be actually working on the project. So I need to make it very clear here, you need to differentiate between the project team and stakeholders. So only the team that will be working under your supervision if you are the project manager. Key milestones, they are point in times, they refer to certain achievements. It is really about reflecting on the existing problems, talking with some people, end users, gather data, and then propose the right solution. Thank you everyone for watching. I really hope that this adds to your career development, and see you next time.